Okay. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hello. Welcome, Gina. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me and
Are
Vino.
you?
Oh, hi, Vino. Well, okay, fantastic. So we're gonna jump right into it. Gina is one of our fantastic fosters. We are so lucky to have her in our foster network. And we've got a fun and interesting story to share today that Gina's gonna help us with, starring one Mr. Vino, right here. So Vino came to us the way a lot of dogs come to us, actually. And it was through an owner surrender, which is always really challenging. And as you know, we here at Wonder Dog and at Homegrown are really trying to think about what folks need in order to help them keep dogs in homes, keep dogs in safe and loving homes. And sometimes when that's not possible, how to help them adjust in their new safe and loving home. And so that's what the story is a little bit about. So when we got Vino, we got some information from the owner about what he was like and kind of what his personality was like, what he was looking for, what he was used to. He'd been around other dogs, for example, stuff like that. And Gina very graciously and heroically agreed to foster him, which is how I feel about all of our fosters. They are gracious heroes. And we got Vino over to her, and we started noticing some behaviors, or I should say, Gina started noticing some behaviors pretty quickly um, that were challenging and were unexpected. Um, and I don't know if Gina, if you want to talk a little bit about what that first day with Vino was like.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. So when I first picked him up, he was in a crate. So he went straight into my car. I took him straight home and I thought, oh, from the garage, I can have him kind of introduce him to the home in the backyard first. But he was doing some growling. I opened up his crate and he just would not come out. So he was pretty frightened and I was trying to see how to make him more comfortable. He did have a leash in the crate, so I tried to get him out and he just freaked out and thrashed and his collar came off and I'm like, oh, I cannot lose this dog today or else I would not be able to get him back. So I tried bringing my dog down to the backyard hoping because he has lived with another dog that would help him a little bit, but he just nonstop wouldn't stop barking at my dog and he wouldn't want anything near me. So I'm like, okay, that's too much for him. So I closed his crate. Good thing is he loves his crate. So he just went back in. I closed the door and I just carried him up the stairs back into the office where I kind of kept him there for a few days until he got comfortable. So the first few days he would not let me touch him. He would just let me toss treats over to him. And I would just put him in the crate, bring him downstairs, let him do his business, and just put him back in the crate and back up for a few days. So it did take him about 4 days until he finally let me touch him. So he just needed a little bit of patience and some time and get acclimated to the new environment.
And this was the interesting point that Gina contacted us and said, this dog is like really behaving badly. He's growling. My daughter's afraid. Her daughter is 5 years old. Is that right? Her
Yes.
daughter was afraid. She was afraid. She said, this isn't what I signed up for. And that's not what we signed up for when we took the dog. So I started to think, oh, what are we going to do? What are we going to do with this dog? Because sometimes people don't tell us the whole story. But then I said to Arati and Gina, I said, maybe he just needs a few days to decompress. Maybe that's all it is. Luckily, it was.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
happened after those couple of days?
Yeah, so it was lots of treat tossing. So we had a little baby gate at the office, and I would make my family, anytime you walk through that hallway, throw him a treat. I don't care how many times you go, just give him a treat. So my daughter was doing it, and he started coming out of the office. And anytime my daughter's eating, she's always giving the dog food. So she was the second one that he fell in love with. And my husband, he still barks occasionally, so we're still working on that. He's just more comfortable in the home. I haven't really taken him out much because he's still a little nervous out when there's too uh, many things happening. So he's been really comfortable in the house. He goes in and out of the backyard. He's starting to play with my dog a little bit. So he's come a long way.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, something that we don't always think about is that if if someone puts you in a box and then takes you somewhere and then you wake up in a new house and you don't know any of the people in there and they're speaking a language you don't understand, that is traumatizing. You know, and I think that sometimes we think of dogs are very resilient, of course. And they're just like us, they're animals, just like we are the human animal. And change is a lot. We all kind of experience change pretty intensely. And I think that it's not an exaggeration to say that it can be a traumatizing experience. That doesn't mean that it can't be worked through. That doesn't mean that you should never change, you know, change homes or anything like that. It just means that there can be unexpected behaviors that come up, right? And having that patience that Gina showed, trying to build a structure where, okay, every time Vino sees a person, he's also going to learn to expect a treat, right? Giving him the time, letting him lead is a really big one, right? It wasn't like, okay, well, he should be used to us by now, so we're going to take him out of his crate. No, it was, okay, he's in the crate, we're going to wait for him. And I remember we all kind of did like a little victory. We had like a victory text when Gina was like, "Today, Vino, you know, like he took a treat from my hand and he licked my hand and he came out of his crate and he, you know, he was willing to come out of his crate. Huge, you know, and it might seem like such a small thing, but we were like, that's such progress for a dog that was having such a hard time, you know? Um, and I think that we can't, sorry, that's not something that we can underestimate the power of that patience, of letting it take some time, of you know, just setting up those structures.
We also acknowledge that sometimes a family that's fostering, um, they don't have the skills, or they may feel too overextended by giving the dog time. I Arati, can you cue up that video of them playing in the yard?
Yeah, just to give a little taste of what we see
Yes.
with Gino now.
It's so hard to believe looking at him that that he was the dog that we're going to describe in a couple of minutes.
Yeah,
This is this is an after. When
okay.
also
Can everyone see my?
yeah.
Oh, here it is. Sorry. Okay, here we go. Look at him.
Look at him go.
And this is a dog that was shaking in his crate, didn't want to meet this other dog, didn't want to say hi to anyone, didn't want to leave his crate. And then this is what we're seeing. So it's truly incredible.
So there is something I want to throw in that we kind of skipped. We didn't skip it intentionally. We skipped part of a story because last week Gina tried to take him to a groomer. She has a friend that's a groomer who offered to shave him down because his mats were pretty thick. And initially I said, I'd rather have him settle in than be traumatized because we didn't know what to expect. So, but she went to the groomer and her friend said, I can't do this. He needs to be put under anesthesia and get a medical groom because he's too matted and he's too frightened. So,
And I think, and I'll add really quickly, Linda, I think
yeah,
part of the emphasis on getting him groomed is that we were worried, you know, that maybe part of his stress is coming from some amount of discomfort, right? The matting
yeah.
was bad enough that we were like, okay, this feels worth it because he might be uncomfortable and we don't want him to be uncomfortable.
And that well could have been part of the story. Um, because what happened then is that Gina took him to Mission Pet Hospital and he basically flipped out at Mission Pet, probably worse than when he first got into your house, right, Gina?
Right.
And she
Yeah.
just had to take him home. They gave us drugs, trazodone and gabapentin for him. But here he was, like totally re traumatized. And I asked Gina later on, I said, has he gotten back to his old self? And she said, yeah, he has. So even though he walked into this thing and basically had a canine panic attack, he was able to walk home and feel safe in that home environment. So the funny part is that, and maybe you can cue up that photo, Arati. The funny part is that Gina was just like cutting little pieces of fur when he would sit on her lap. This is after the vet incident. And then she started, you began to take a scissor, right? And just slowly cut the mats away from the skin.
Yeah,
And
so
and
my daughter has a little toddler scissor. I'm like, oh, I'll try to use this just because he had knots all around his leg, and I'll just trim it while I'm petting him so he doesn't really see, and he was doing pretty good.
Yeah, so I'll show everyone, I'll give everyone a sneak peek of what that looked like.
I was shocked to see this. I really was.
Okay. Do we
Here we go.
So here's this live video of all of this grooming happening. You see, look at this.
That is crazy.
Crazy. Oh my goodness.
It's yeah, it
Uh,
really and truly is.
you
And he's
know,
letting
when
you
he was
do it.
uncomfortable. But look how comfortable he is. This is a dog who had just freaked out at the vet. And now we're seeing how much Gina is able to, like play with his fur, get in there, do the grooming, and we end up with such a like he's so handsome. Look at our handsome man.
Show
Can
us
you
how
show him one more
handsome he
time for
is
the
now.
people?
Show us, Gina. Let him make his debut appearance.
Yes.
Hi,
So handsome, so
there he is,
comfortable.
all naked. I did get him a little jacket for when we go out so he's not
Yeah.
cold.
If you need to get some supplies, you can go to the animal house. Let us know if you need things. But also, if you go to the animal house, we can tell them you're coming, and we get a discount, and we have an account there, so
Oh,
they could. They have wonderful sweaters and jackets. But here's why we wanted to ask Gina to come on and to tell the dog story, because one of the hardest things is finding foster homes right now, and every rescue is having trouble, and we can't save dogs without foster homes. um, it's just not possible. And yet when we bring a dog in, we don't always know what to expect. So when I'll talk to a potential foster, I say, what are your deal breakers? What is it that would make you say, I can't keep this dog? And usually it's things like not housebroken or barking, but we had no idea he was going to do this. And I had no idea whether that was the real dog that she was seeing in her garage freaking out, or whether he would decompress. And it would have been a tough decision to know what to do if he wouldn't, if he couldn't calm down. So as it, and this is the next step. Like, he's on our webpage now and could get adopted. But he also, Gina's family might benefit from having him go to a different foster home just to give them a break. That's something we've talked about. And in order to find the right home, we've got to be able to articulate the issue and talk about it. When people call me or they email me and they say, I need to surrender my dog, I can't keep it. And if they say, well, he's good with most dogs, but or oh, he's dog aggressive, I tell them, please get a trainer to come in and evaluate your dog. Nobody's going to take him if he's dog aggressive, but if you can say he's got leash reactivity, or he's reactive, he has barrier frustration, if you can identify what the thing is, it makes a lot more sense. You might still have a problem finding a home for him, but it'll be easier. It won't be a big no. And the reason Arati and I are doing Homegrown Wisdom is we want to give people the tools that we use to rehome dogs, how we look at the situation, how we, how what kind of photos to take, where to post the photos. And people need that. They don't know. Then they call me and they just think like, I'm gonna fix it. So what would you add about fostering?
I would add that we are so available to support, but we have to, there has to be somebody there first that we can support.
Yeah.
And I think that people, sometimes are like, oh, I don't know if I have the time for this, right? Like the time commitment. And it is a time commitment, but part of what we are committed to is like helping make that as easy as possible. So if we can support with transport, if we can support with, vet visits, if we can support with, you have to go out of town for a little bit, so you need someone else to back up, like you're available to foster for the next 3 months, but there's a weekend or two in there that you won't be, like those are things that we can support with. So if you're upfront with us about where you're at, we can try to work something out because somebody who's got a couple weekends that they're going to be busy, but is going to be is savvy and loving is so much, that's so much more important and helpful to us, and so we don't want to lose out on great fosters. I would love to ask Gina two questions, and I'll ask you them one at a time so we don't get confused. So my first question is, what do you think? What's the big thing that you've learned in your time fostering Vino?
I would say giving them time and just don't expect them to blend into the home as soon as they come in. There will be a period where they need to transition and just to be patient and just to make sure the whole family's on the same page when it comes
Ooh,
to fostering.
can you talk a little bit about that last one? Because that feels really important, and I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yes. So when I first said yes, I've been wanting to be a foster for a while now. It's my husband that's like, no, we shouldn't do it because you're going to end up adopting all these foster dogs. So I saw his Instagram post and it's like, oh, he's a multi-poo. He's super cute, super social, been with kids. I have a kid, been with a dog. I have a dog. He's going to be perfect. I bring him home and he's not exactly what we expected him to be. So just making sure we're on the same page when I was telling them to, oh, make sure you give him treats. And my husband was a little hesitant in the beginning. He's like, oh, why should I be doing all of that? And why should I buy my this dog love? I'm like, do you want him to get adopted? Do you want him to find a good home? We just got to do this for him because he's just scared and he doesn't know what's going on. And men can be scarier for little dogs. They have a deeper voice. They're just not as friendly as a woman can be. So I had to make sure we're all on the same page. And my poor daughter was a little scared in the beginning because he would bark at her and she's just like, oh, I don't know what's going on, why he's barking at me. I didn't do anything. I was just walking and standing here. So I just had to make sure she understood that he was scared and just to keep giving him treats until he felt more comfortable with her.
Love that. Yes, thank you so much. That is so important. And I think it is interesting. Like I'll sometimes get foster apps from people who um, are like, okay, well, I would really like to do this, but I don't think that my partner really wants me to do this. So maybe now is not the right time. And it's very true because even if you know that you're going to be the main one responsible, which is totally fine, having another creature in the house will totally impact everyone, everyone's schedules, or like it is a new addition to your household, even if it's not a permanent one. And it is very helpful to just make sure that everyone knows this is a situation, this is what this is going to look like. And then my second question for you, Gina, is for Vino's next foster, what piece of advice do you have?
Uh,
Mm.
yeah, so just be slow with him because he's not the type of dog that would just come up to you and want to be petted. It's going to take him a little bit of time to get to know you and understand your routine, and he'll slowly fall in love with you. Once he trusts you, he's the sweetest dog.
So true. And I think sometimes people do kind of have a vision in their head of they're going to meet a dog and the dog's going to run up to them and lick their face and be tail wagging and just be so excited. And some dogs do that. Some dogs have that personality. They've had the life where they're very comfortable like that. A lot of dogs haven't, especially if we get them from a shelter, for example. And that doesn't mean that that's not in their personality. It just means, like we were saying at the very beginning, they need the time to adjust. And so much of it is stuff that you can't take personally because it's not that this dog doesn't like
Yeah,
you, right?
yeah, yeah.
It's just that, he needs a little time.
So I'll speak to that just for a minute or three about the technical part of what's going on there. Um, and I always use an example. Gina, if every time I saw you, I slapped you on the back, I said, it's great to see you, Gina. You'd see me coming and you might want to go in another room, right? I mean, you might, because you know that I'll be happy to see you, but I'm going to slap you really hard on the back. by the same question, if every time I saw you, I said, Gina, I found some money on the street. Here's a $20 bill. Take it and give it to your daughter. If every time you saw me, you knew I was going to give you a $20 bill, you might go out of your way to see me. You might not, but a lot of people would. And we know if I said to you, hey, Gina, next week when I come over, I'm going to bring you a new computer because I see that, yours is old and I've got a new one just sitting at home. You would think, oh, next week, Linda's bringing us a computer. Now, dogs think differently. With the dog, there's like a 1 to 2 second connect time between what they're doing and what we say to them, how we affirm something or how we correct it. And so when a dog is like, if a dog pees on the floor and then you walk over to where he is and you bend over and you're yelling at him like, I told you not to do that. The dog is like looking at a bug crawling on the wall and he thinks he's being yelled at because of the bug. He doesn't know. And people say to me a lot, they say, oh, he knows what he did. It's like, no, he doesn't. He knows what he was doing at the moment you corrected him. And because dogs learn by consequence and association. It's the simplest truth about it. This is not my idea. This is Ian Dunbar. These are the top behaviorists saying these things. So how would that play out with you? Gina, when he got to your house, he didn't have a neutral association. Like some dogs would come over and be neutral, neither scared nor hyper, neutral. Um, he came over being scared, and he learned that somewhere else. I've seen dogs that have come from what I think is domestic violence homes. You can just see it in the dog, where the way the dog protects the woman or the children, the way the dog will just be terrified of the man but be barking and protective. But in a case like his, he didn't know how to behave and he was scared. I think that he's undergone some kind of trauma. I'll bet you a quarter that when he goes to his next home, it will not take him as long to bounce back to who he is now, because you have changed the association from when he first met you to now is completely different. you know, and he'll meet someone new that's a stranger, and he might have somewhat of a negative association. But as soon as he sees that same type of behavior, he's going to mellow out and mellow out more quickly. So and some people say, why do you give him treats all the time? And Ian Dunbar said, it's because that in nature, they spend their time looking for food. So if you're holding the treats or you have a treat bag, a pouch on your belt, you're the leader of the pack to them. You're the one distributing the food. And so you did the right thing because you're experienced. We want our fosters to succeed. I want their experience to be really good so that maybe they'll foster again, or they'll say to a friend, I fostered a dog. I learned a lot and I really loved him, and he went to a new home, instead of, oh yeah, I fostered a dog. It was, oh God, never again. I mean, I've heard people say that. So that's why we give the support we do. And that's why we're so grateful too. I can't believe what you did for him. And I just want to acknowledge that.
Oh, and I
I
wanted to thank you too for being so supportive this entire time, super responsive when I was just like, what's going on with Vino? He's so scared. I totally did not anticipate. And you guys were giving me great guidance and you were always super responsive. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thanks so much. And now he's on ready for his next chapter. Let's find
Yes,
Vino a
he-
home.
ready to go home.
So what would be his ideal home? Would it be with children? Does he interact with your daughter much?
He's okay with her, and he always goes up to her when she's eating. Sometimes she likes to eat in front of the TV, with the coffee table, so it's very low to the ground, and he'll just sit next to her. So he's actually comfortable with her. So maybe if it's a maybe more of a dog savvy children, because in the beginning he's not gonna want them to touch him and carry him or being picked up. He's going to need some time.
And
And maybe
probably not young, really young children, maybe 8 and over. I could imagine if there were some boys running around the house yelling, the way
yeah,
boys play hard, that would stress him out. It
right.
could. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it could because I only have one child, so I don't see her playing as not her running around with
Yeah.
another kid. But probably more of a quiet home because I've had a few family members come over and I just kept him separate just to keep him safe. So he likes more of a quiet home.
Would he be happy as an only dog, or do you think he should have another dog around?
That's a good question. I think he might be okay with being by himself or with another dog.
Okay. But when you took him to the dog park, you said he got really scared.
Yeah, and that's because it's a newer dog. It did take a few days for him to be comfortable with my dog. He was just barking at her the whole time, and she was actually scared of him in the beginning. Like she was looking at me like, "Mom, what did you bring home?" So it did take a little bit of an adjustment, and now they're okay. Um, but if I take him out on a walk, he is a little bit reactive. So treats are great. He's very treat motivated. So whenever he sees someone walking another dog, he may start barking, but if you start walking the other way and staying your distance and giving him treats,
Mhm,
he's been
mhm.
very responsive to that.
Great.
Very treat motivated. And good thing is he has a good stomach, no issues with his poop. So I give him all the treats as long as it's helping him.
Good. Good. And would you say he's made progress out on the sidewalk with, passing other dogs or meeting them?
Uh, I think so because he's so treat motivated. Now, anytime he pees outside, I give him a treat. He poops, I give him a treat. I see another dog, and I
Yes.
walk away and give him a treat. And just as long as you stay farther away and you're not just walking towards a dog or another person, he's been doing pretty good.
You could write a book on this.
Treat, treat, treat. That's gonna be my book title.
Oh, boy. Do you have anything else to add?
I don't think so. It's just that I'm proud of him for how he's doing, and I hope he gets adopted soon. Right? Right, Vino?
Thank you, Arati.
Absolutely.
Arati's,
I'm so I'm
Ar-
I'm I'm so proud of him also, and thank you so much, Gina, for all your work.
yeah.
All right.
We
Thanks.
really didn't expect it to be like that.
Yes. Yeah, truly. So thank you. All right.
Bye. Take care.